In the meantime, I do want to talk to attorney Andrew Stoltmann, who says, no matter what you say, this is going to be bad news for Jeff Bezos. So your argument, and he took a big leap doing this and challenging this. Most settle or try to avoid the legal spotlight. But maybe he figured, look, this was out there. The original story came out. To beat it to the punch, my wife and I formally announced our separation, and then this comes after me. But you're saying what? That it will damage him regardless?
Well, yeah, look, it obviously isn't a good look for the world's wealthiest man, but I think he's trying to send a message to other media outlets out there that, look, I am a fighter, and if you do this, if you put me in this trick box, if you ruin my marriage and expose what I'm doing, I'm coming after you. And I kind of analogize it a little bit to the Peter Thiel Gawker Hulk Hogan sex tape issue. So we'll see what's next, but make no mistake about it, this is criminal extortion, and it's just a question whether prosecutors are going to go after them.
You know, normally companies, CEOs, big stars have a SWAT team of lawyers who settle things they don't even have to settle. They pay a lot of money to do that. Some call those nuisance suits. Others say it's just part of doing business. Jeff Bezos could easily have afforded something like that to avoid this here, but it would be with a recognized journalistic entity, and it would have been, shall we say, awkward. So that wasn't the issue as much as it was the threat that if he didn't cease and desist in this inquisition and investigation into how the newspaper got their hands on all this stuff, he wasn't going to stop. So there's a difference there, right?
There is, and then it also raises the issue of whether this is a de facto proxy war between the world's wealthiest man and the world's most powerful man, President Trump. You know, obviously the National Enquirer goes far, far back with President Trump. Mr. Pecker had to agree to a immunity deal that he killed stories that were not advantageous to President Trump.
And by the way, that lasts for 3 years. If this proves he violated that, what happens? The immunity deal, that goes away, right?
Huge problem. And that's why I can't believe Pecker was so careless in allegedly doing this, because if that immunity deal goes away, both him and the company are even more legal trouble than what they're currently in.
You know, this seems you're the lawyer and a good one at that, but when I hear words like from this editor, Howard, and this is to Bezos and his team, I want to describe to you the photos obtained during our news gathering. Goes on to say we have a below-the-belt selfie. It would give no editor pleasure to send this email. The common sense will prevail thing. So he goes on to say, look, here's a preview of our coming attractions. And man, I don't know. It sounds like Tony Soprano here.
It does. And I think a lot of times we're used to mob movies and extortion claims, right, where there's a threat of physical force. We don't have that here. But what we do have is a very clear threat to expose something extraordinarily embarrassing, and it's in
he's already
writing.
been embarrassed, right? You can help me with this. He's already been embarrassed, Andrew. So now he's saying, well, nothing else to lose. More texts are coming out. More stuff is coming out. I just got to go out there and say enough is enough. And his argument has always been, I think he said, if in my position I can't stand up to this kind of extortion, how many people can? He does raise a good point.
He does, and I think the National Enquirer is used to doing this with Johnny Carson and Burt Reynolds, but now when they're going up against the world's wealthiest man, I think they have bitten off a little bit more than they can chew, and I think Bezos is going to bury them. It's already a struggling company. He's trying to get criminal charges, and I'd be shocked if a civil suit like the Gawker suit isn't coming next.
Oh, wow. Now, the other quick thing, I know my producer's going to kill me, we're going long, but you're so good. Is it your sense that it could affect Amazon, that is a family, sort of an oriented company, a retail conglomerate respected the world over, a lot of people use it, and maybe fewer people will if they read all this tawdry stuff and follow it, that it could hurt, to say nothing of the ongoing divorce between he and his wife for 25 years.
Yeah, you know, what price do you put on the reputation of your company, and having the owner, the primary owner, and the biggest shareholder appearing naked below the waist in a selfie isn't good for the company. It certainly isn't good for Mr. Bezos, and I think that's why he took a shotgun to finish this thing off.
All right, well, we'll watch very, very closely. By the way, the company has issued multiple statements today, but the one that stands out in this entire back and forth on this is from Mr. Bezos himself. Of course, I don't want personal photos published. But I also don't want to participate in their well-known practice of blackmail, political favors, political attacks, and corruption. That is essentially the world's richest man saying, I've got the money to fight this, and I'm fighting this to hell.